What's going on, guys? Welcome back. And I know I haven't made a video in a while, and I apologize for that. I've just been really busy. I've had a lot of stuff going on. I had a Halloween thing I had to help out with, and it's just been pretty crazy recently, and I haven't had a lot of time to make videos for you guys. But last Friday, of course, October 30th, The Mandalorian Season 2 started, and we got Episode 1, or Chapter 9, The Marshal, and today I'm going to be reviewing it and giving my thoughts and all that. And yeah, so I will say some non-spoiler stuff because I do understand that not everyone will have watched the episode already. So I will say they are definitely leaning more into stuff that the fans will recognize in this season already. There's a lot of little Easter eggs and references and callbacks and just etc., including returning characters that you may not expect. Definitely not... Well, they were characters that I expected to see, but not this early, I guess I should say. So there was definitely stuff I was expecting to happen, but there was also a lot of stuff that I did not expect to happen, and a lot of stuff that surprised me. So I'll say that the unexpected things definitely outweighed the expected things, if that makes any sense. But there's just so much stuff I need to get into that I can't really talk about it without spoiling it. So those of you who have not seen it, I definitely recommend it as I recommend the entire first season, because I think the first season was pretty good, although I still had some mixed thoughts on it overall by the end. But I do think that this season has potential to be even better than the first if it continues at this quality, or this current rate of quality. So that's pretty much it for my non-spoiler thoughts on the episode. Please click off now if you've not seen it, but if you have and you want to hear my in-depth spoiler thoughts, continue watching at your own leisure. So now we're going to get into the Easter eggs and stuff. So there's three main Easter eggs. The droid at the very beginning that Mando, or the I forget the actress's name, but the droid at the very beginning, R5 as they call it, is the exact same droid from one of the first scenes of A New Hope, where the Jawas are selling Owen Lars and Luke Skywalker the droids or whatever, and then the one has I believe a faulty motivator, and it blows up, and then that's why they have to buy R2. So that was cool to see that droid back. The speeder bike that Cobb Vanth uses, or that the Marshal uses, is an engine from, I believe, Anakin Skywalker's pod racer. And of course, Boba Fett's armor is being worn by Cobb Vanth, and you kind of are able to piece together some certain information about that, about Boba Fett's escape, I suppose, from the Sarlacc pit. So there's all sorts of little Easter eggs like that, like when Mando pokes the jetpack on Boba's armor, the same way that Han did in Return of the Jedi, which is why Boba fell into the Sarlacc. So there's some nice little continuity and some cool little Easter eggs there. And I believe there's even some little Easter eggs in the Crate Dragon, I believe it's called. I believe that's a creature from Legends that hasn't been seen in canon, and there's some Easter eggs about how the Tuskens find a pearl inside its guts at the end. I don't know. I don't really know that much about Legends, so I can't really elaborate on that or give you my thoughts on that, but I guess that was kind of a nice little Easter egg for fans of Legends and stuff, because when I was watching with my family, they were like, I don't get that. What's that mean? But I do recognize that does mean something to, really, really super hardcore fans. I just know this stuff in passing from watching YouTube videos and so on, and from reading up on it. So I do know the pearl means something. And there's also just a lot of nice stuff in this episode, stuff that I really appreciated. They humanized the Sand People from, being those mindless monsters that they talk about in Attack of the Clones. They're so evil, they're monsters, they kidnapped Anakin's mom. And I really like that they humanized them, because even though, they're these really hideous looking, they have these really hideous looking masks, and they raid villages, and they kill people, and they attack people, it's just because they are retaliating because people are doing the same to them. So it's kind of, there's always going to be that kind of conflict, and it's almost like a racism thing, right? It's almost like Star Wars racism, right? Tuscanism. Why are you so Tuscanist? But no, it was really nice to see that. I liked the humanization of the Sand People, and seeing them, team up with the other people, these kind of creatures or characters that in the past had just been written off as, mindless evil monsters are actually being humanized, and I really appreciated that, because you saw a little bit of that in the first season when Mando talked to them, but you're seeing a lot more of that now here, and I really appreciated seeing that. It's just one of the many strengths of this show is able to, humanize and flesh out certain aspects of the original trilogies and of other Star Wars media and other Star Wars properties. You're just able to go in depth with all that, and that's what I think is one of the strengths of this show, and I think this episode represents a lot of the strengths of this series, at least so far. Then you got the score, of course, by Ludwig Göransson. He's scoring this season again, and there's some really great little musical moments, like when they are traveling to the cave of the Krayt Dragon, and they twist the Mandalorian theme itself to kind of sound like a little Middle Eastern sort of thing. It sounded like something from Aladdin, right? Like, that's the best way I can describe it, and it was really interesting the way they did that. So they did a lot of interesting twisting of the themes and stuff to make it fit, that kind of Western style, and it was really interesting. I really liked what they did with the music in here, and, the episode got off to a weird start for me, because that opening scene was all in the trailer. He goes to that, arena or whatever, and there's the guy there, played by Jon Favreau, the Cyclops guy, and I liked the, when he said, he's like, "Don't kill me," and then he's like, "I promise you won't die by my," sorry, oh my goodness, I can't speak today, but I liked when Mando said, "I promise you won't die by my hand," and then he just shoots out the light post, and then the dogs or whatever come and eat the guy. I liked that. That was a cool little moment, a very dark moment. It showed how, Mando's a man of his word. It's kind of the Batman Begins kind of, ideal, or the Batman Begins kind of idea where Batman jumps off the train and he's like, "I won't kill you, but I don't have to save you," that sort of logic. I really liked that. I thought that was cool. And, there was just, after that point, it really picked up, because I didn't expect them to see Boba's armor, let alone Boba himself at the end of the episode. But yeah, the second the guy said there was a Mandalorian on Tatooine, my mind just went, Boba Fett. Even though Boba, from what I understand, is not a Mandalorian, correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand from all the research I've done into it, Jango Fett was a Mandalorian, but he was cast out because they didn't approve of his methods or something. And then he was the template for the clones, and then he ordered an unaltered clone of himself, which was Boba. So Boba just found Mandalorian armor, because from what I remember, in the Clone Wars TV show, he uses Jango's armor as a bomb to try and kill Mace Windu. So the armor Boba wears can't be just his father's repainted or damaged over time. So he must have found another set of Mandalorian armor over time, which is kind of interesting. I don't really know, because Mando goes looking... That's kind of the weakest part of the episode for me, is the overarching plot, because Mando goes there because he needs to find another Mandalorian to show him on his current path to take the child back to its people, or to its own kind. And he needs to find another Mandalorian who can, I guess, tell him the way. And he finds out that the Mandalorian he's looking for isn't actually a Mandalorian, it's just a Marshal of this town, and they need his help, so he agrees to help them because, he's a good guy, but in exchange, he gives him the armor because he isn't a true Mandalorian, and apparently the Mandalorian Creed says that you have to give the real Mandalorians your armor if you aren't technically a real Mandalorian. So that kind of makes sense to me, but I don't really know why he needs the armor. Like, if he went there and then found out, I think he just decided to help out because he's a nice guy. But if he found out it wasn't a real Mandalorian, wouldn't he just be like, okay, the guy I'm looking for isn't here. See you later. Would he actually stick around? Because it kind of just felt like and that's kind of my problem with the first season, was it felt like a meandering story. And this is where my excitement for this season comes in, because in the first season, I really liked the plot-based episodes. By the way, this is not my favorite episode. I'm saying a lot of nice things about it because I really did like it, but it's not my favorite episode. I think my favorite episode is still Chapter 3, The Sin, from Season 1. I really liked that one a lot. It's where the plot really kicked in and where you could really tell this series was going in a different direction than what I expected with the first two. So that's why Chapter 3, The Sin, is probably still my favorite. But episodes 4, 5, and 6 from season 1 felt like meandering side stories that had random references thrown in, just referencing names of planets and stuff that we've seen before, and it just got a little irritating. The last 2 episodes were really good, but I still had quite a few issues with those last 2 episodes. But I liked the story-based episodes in season 1, but I hoped that season 2 would cut back on the filler. Now, this first episode does feel like a good reintroduction to the series, and it does feel like I would classify this as a filler episode, but it does have a lot to offer for the fans. So even though it is a filler episode and it's just kind of a meandering plot point, I did like the general plot, humanizing the Sand People, having, that kind of classic Western story, but you also have the intrigue of what's going on with this Boba Fett thing? What's going on with the armor? Where is Boba? You had all that intrigue behind it, and I really liked that. It had more to offer to the hardcore fans and just viewers in general than just being a meandering story that has random references thrown in, like I found episodes 4, 5, and 6 were in season 1. So if this season continues with this quality of filler episodes, at least quote-unquote filler episodes, if the filler episodes in this season are like this one, I think this could be an improvement over the first season. Like I said, we've only got 1 episode so far, right? So, I don't know yet. I don't know if maybe the rest of the episodes in this season will suck. I don't know. I hope not, but because this one was pretty good, and I doubt it, because I did at least remotely enjoy all the episodes in season 1, even if I didn't really like the middle 3 episodes of season 1. But this season has potential to be better than the first season, and I'm really looking forward to that. And that's kind of my discussion about, filler episodes. Like, what's good and bad filler? For me, filler that I don't enjoy is just meandering plot points that don't add to the overall story. Because, I've grown up watching shows like Ninjago that usually has a straightforward plot line and never, meanders off on different storylines. And Mandalorian, I guess, is designed to be episodic. And, that's fine, but it's still not my favorite form of storytelling, because I like stories that are just more focused on the main plot and the main through line at hand. And I think season 2 could be better if, they have these side plots, but they also have these kind of things that lead into each other, like Boba Fett showing up. And that leads me into my next point of discussion. We're going to talk about Boba Fett. So, we know Boba fell into the Sarlacc at the beginning of Return of the Jedi, and then maybe a few days later, the rebellion blew up the second Death Star. And we hear from Cobb Vanth, recalling his story after I believe it's the mining colony came in and took over Mos Pelgo. He was walking around in the desert, and then he was taken in by Jawas, and they found that he had these crystals that they liked. I think they're called Alkalax crystals or something. Don't quote me on that. I don't remember what they were called exactly, but he has these purple crystals, and the Jawas really like that, and then they're trying to trade him stuff, and then he sees this pair of armor, which we know to be Boba Fett's, and he's like, okay, I'll exchange these for that, and then he goes back to free the town. Now what I'm wondering is, the mining colony seemed really worried when he showed up. I wonder if they knew who Boba Fett was and they actually thought that was Boba Fett. Because from what I understand, Boba Fett had a reputation and he was a well-known bounty hunter. Like when Darth Vader meets him in Empire Strikes Back, he says, "No disintegrations." So clearly he has a reputation and he's well-known. So what I'm wondering is, people just seem to be assuming that when you see Boba watching Mando and the child take off at the end, he's going to go after them and try and get his armor back. But what I'm wondering is, the organizations he worked for are gone. The Empire, even though it's still kind of slowly rebuilding itself, the Empire's gone. Jabba's whole crime organization is gone. It crumbled at the beginning of Return of the Jedi. So now that he's back, people are probably going to be looking for him. So I think he probably left his armor intentionally, and now he's walking around because people won't recognize him without the armor. So I'm really interested to see where this is going to go, because I've heard people saying, oh, maybe Moff Gideon will find out about him, and then Moff Gideon will recruit him, and then Boba will be like, oh yeah, I saw those guys, and then Boba's going to track them down. I think that would be a boring plot point, because you'd basically be recycling Boba's arc from the original trilogy, which was really boring, actually. He just Darth Vader was like, no disintegrations, and then he just followed them around in space. That's all Boba did in the original movies, and then he fell in a hole. That's all he did. But they have potential here to really flesh out Boba and make him more interesting. You know, you added that tragedy in his life with his dad getting killed in the prequels. So now you could have him maybe have a change of heart, you know, rethinking his path in life. Maybe he's going to help Mando on his way, even though he's not technically a Mandalorian. I'm sure since his dad was a Mandalorian, he told him or filled him in on a lot of this stuff about Mandalore and the Mandalorian Creed and all that. So potentially, Boba does know some of this stuff, and he could help Mando on his path. I don't know, because it has been 5 years since the Empire fell, as we know from, I believe, the description of this show. And if Cobb Vanth found his armor like 3 days after the Empire fell in the Sandcrawler with the Jawas, then potentially Boba could have gotten out like really soon after he fell in the Sarlacc. And you do hear them say that the Krayt Dragon eats Sarlaccs. So maybe when it was eating the Sarlacc, that's when Boba was able to escape. Because we know that the Mandalorian armor, I believe Boba's armor is not made out of Beskar. I think it's something else. But maybe his armor, even though it is a different metal, was resistant to the Krayt Dragon. He was able to escape in a similar fashion to Mando at the end of the episode. So I don't know. There's lots of theories. There's theories about him actually, you know, masquerading as a Tusken Raider or joining in with the Tusken Raiders, and he was one of the Tusken Raiders that helped them. I don't know. There was a lot of cool stuff in the episode. Like I said, I appreciated the references, but I also appreciated just the overall simplicity of the plot, while also humanizing and fleshing out old Star Wars elements such as the Tusken Raiders. I really liked the character of Cobb Vanth. I really liked how he was a man of his word. I thought he would betray Mando, but I appreciated that he stuck to what he said, and he was just an honorable guy, and he gave him his armor back. I actually liked that character, and like Mando said, I hope their paths cross again. And I wonder what we're going to see with Boba. Maybe he'll be in the next episode. I don't know. I did not expect to see him that early. And something interesting is we've never seen Tamara Morrison physically play Boba. We saw him play the clones and Jango in the prequels, and when George Lucas re-released the originals, he dubbed over Boba's voice with Tamara Morrison from the original actor who played him in the 80s, but we've never seen Tamara Morrison physically play Boba, so this will be very interesting to see. I'm glad that Morrison came back to reprise the role, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen with the season, because, like I said, I would classify this as a filler episode, because we didn't see Moff Gideon, we didn't see the Empire, we didn't see any of that. But we do know that Mando's on the run with the child, and I guess people could say that's a weaker point in the episode, is that we don't get to see the child very much. But to me, the child was kind of an overrated aspect of the first season, and I like it when they focus more on Mando and the rest of them. That's just my opinion. I mean, I don't hate Baby Yoda by any means, but I do like having focus on the characters that, for me at least, that I actually really care about. So this was a good start to the season. I liked a lot of stuff about it. It's not my favorite episode, but I'm very intrigued to see what's going to happen for the rest of the season, or in the rest of the season. Like I said, the weakest aspects for me were definitely the overall plot, like how he just needed the armor for some reason, even though he didn't need the armor. It'll probably be important for later in the plot, like Boba will be hunting them down or something. I don't know. Like I said, I really don't know. There's a lot of stuff up in the air. Maybe we won't even see Boba again. I don't know. At least in this season. I don't know. Maybe they're setting up a Boba Fett show. Maybe that's what that was. Maybe they're teasing a Boba Fett show, because I think they said they were going to do that, or a movie or something. So, I don't know. There's a lot of stuff up in the air, but for now, I will just say I liked this episode quite a bit. It's not my favorite episode, like some people have been saying. I think that's just the hype. I think people will get over that soon enough. But I have made a custom Boba and Cobb Vanth right here, so let me know if you'd like to see videos on those custom minifigures, because I'm pretty proud of how they look. But anyways, that's my review of The Mandalorian, Season 2, Episode 1, Chapter 9, The Marshal. Please let me know all your thoughts on this episode in the comments below, and all your thoughts on my review as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. Take care.